Alright, let me show you what I want to do in level 8. Now, in level 6 and level 7, the enemy object only has one movement mode. Hold on, let me zoom in. There. In level 6 and level 7, our enemy's movement behavior is pretty simple. It picks a random position within the bounds. It slowly moves towards the chosen direction, and once it's there, it chooses another direction. On level 8, I want to make it a little bit more complex. By complex, I want to make it so our enemy object has two movement modes. So the first movement mode is just wandering randomly, going to random positions. And the second mode is chasing the player. So consistently going towards the player's position. In level 8, I want our enemy object to switch between these two movement modes. And I'll do that with the following logic. If I have to give a basic explanation, in level 8, our enemy object is gonna move towards a random position, and once it's there, it will run a scan around itself. So we have this guy. The enemy object is gonna go here, for example. And during this scan, during this phase, if our player character is inside the area that is being scanned, then our enemy object is gonna switch movement modes. If the player object is detected by the scan, then for a certain amount of seconds, the enemy object is gonna chase our player object. And once that's done, I want the enemy to stop chasing the player after a certain amount of seconds. Then afterwards, I want the enemy object to switch back to wandering, so picking random positions. Let's start working on that by creating our level 8. First I need to set these back. There we go. Alright, now as always, I'm gonna copy all this. Now for our level 8, we only need one new script, and that's gonna be for our enemy object. In level... what? Oh, sure. Anyway, in level 8, I want my enemy object's shooting pattern to be similar to what we did in level 6. So if I have to give a reminder, in level 6 or enemy objects shooting pattern is like this. Short ranged. We'll apply the same logic in level 8 but with a few adjustments. So we can grab our script from level 6 and copy it into our enemy behavior level 8. There we go. Now, as you can see here that when our enemy object finishes a movement loop, which means that its current position is equal to our target direction, which is the randomly selected position, then we call our choose target direction method. Now, instead of calling our choose target direction method, I want to make it so when this if statement is true, I want to run a coroutine where we scan the surroundings of our enemy object for a certain amount of time. So first, let's create our coroutine. There it is. Now, what should I call this? Scan for player. We're gonna replace this with start coroutine. Not that. Scan for player. There we go. Okay, now that we have our coroutine set, let's start adding the variables that we need for this coroutine to work. First, we need a bool variable that determines if our enemy object is currently scanning or not. So let's create a little category here, and we'll write private bool is scanning false. Now here we'll first toggle our is scanning variable, then wait for a number of seconds, which we can do 5 seconds. Then after 5 seconds, after the enemy object scans its variable surroundings for 5 seconds, then we're gonna toggle or is scanning back to false. We also need a second bool variable which determines if our scan detected a player, which we'll do by writing private bool is player detected. Okay, we'll use this later. Now, aside from these two bool variables, we also need to create a game object variable for our player object. We need to create a reference to our player object in our script. And we need to do that because in order to make our enemy object chase our player, we need to gain access to the player object's transform. So we'll write public game object player. Let's set this up. Actually, hold on. Let me think about something. Yeah, we can't do this. in the coroutine, we're gonna check the scan's duration with two variables, not with our wait for seconds method. So let's hold on. We can create one of the variables here. Private float scan total. So this is gonna be the duration of our scan, which is 5 seconds. Actually, I think we can define the other variable here too. Let's try. So private float scan time. What's this word? No, that's not it. Yeah, that's better. So scan time elapsed, which is, we'll leave it as it is. So we're gonna start our scan for player coroutine by setting our scan time elapsed to 0. Afterwards, since we're checking our timer via variables, we're gonna create a while loop that will allow us to slowly increase our scan time elapsed variable. So we're gonna write while scan time elapsed is smaller than scan time total with each run of this loop. We're gonna increase our scan time elapsed with time delta time. Yield return. Hold on, give me a sec. Oh man, okay. This is a little bit more complicated than I initially thought. Okay, we want this coroutine to run in the span of 5 seconds. So to do that, we need to make it so our while loop is stretched over 5 seconds instead of being completed in one frame. So to do that, at the end of our while loop, we'll write yield return null. Now this is different from yield return null wait for seconds, which, as its name suggests, it waits for seconds. But here, instead of waiting for a number of seconds, we just wait for the next frame. So that's what yield return null does. In here we pause the coroutine for 5 seconds. And in here we do the same, but until the next frame. If we didn't add this to our while loop, the entirety of our scan for player coroutine will be run in a single frame. So it won't really be a scan that spans over 5 seconds. The scan will start and end in the same frame. Alright. Now we got the timing set, and now the next thing we need to do is actually set up the scanning process. We'll do that by creating a raycast around our enemy object. So we're gonna create this raycast with each run of our while loop, and if our player object is inside the radius of our raycast, then we'll trigger an event. We're gonna do that by writing physics and boxcast, no. Okay, we'll do with that. Spherecast all. Okay. Wait, what's this? Okay. Physics dot spherecast all. We'll do that. Like physics spherecast. Spherecast all. Spherecast none. What's this? Check sphere returns true if there are any colliders. No, I don't want that. Compute and store. So what's the difference between this? But this function will return all hits. And this. Compute. Okay, I'm actually gonna go with this. I think this is the better option. Overlap sphere. But first let me check what this does. Compute. Whatever. Overlap sphere it is. So what does this need? Position, radius, layer mask. So overlap sphere. We can also do the same with a box and a capsule, but I think I'll go with sphere. So this guy needs a transform, a position, so we'll write transform position. Then we need a radius. I don't know, maybe 5. That's a radius, right? We can add more values, but it seems that overlap sphere can work with only 2 variables, which is what I did here. Okay, now if I understand correctly, this overlap sphere method creates an array of all the colliders inside the raycast radius. So what I want to do is check all of the items, all of the objects inside the radius, and if any of these objects or if any of these colliders are the player objects, then we'll trigger an event. So let's try. Okay, that works. Raycast hits. Awesome. For each collider current hit in raycast hits. So what this does is check every hit, every member in this raycast hits array. So we'll check raycast hits one by one. Now I think we can do something like this. Current hits game object name equals to. Oh. Now here we are checking if current hit is the player object. And if it is, now we're going to trigger the event. We have bool variable here is player detected. We're gonna use this here. So if this is true, is player detected is true. Then wait, can we do this? What's the difference between this and this? Okay. So if the player is detected, we want our coroutine to stop completely. So to do that, in this if statement, we're gonna write, at the end of this if statement, we're gonna write yield break. Then finally, let me just add this here. Is player detected false. I think that's all we need for our coroutine. So right now, all we need to do is create our second movement mode, which will allow our enemy object to chase our player for a certain amount of seconds. We want the chase mode, the second movement mode, to have a certain amount of, to have a certain time limit. And after that time limit is exceeded, after that time ends, we want the enemy object to continue wandering, to revert back to its first movement mode. So to do that, we need to create another variable, private float, chase time elapsed. And just to keep it consistent, let's create a total time a total time variable for scan time as well, or chase time as well. So private float chase time total 10 seconds. So we want our enemy object to wander randomly when both is scanning and is player detected are false. At least that's how I imagine the logic. Maybe that will lead to an error, but we can fix that if errors appear. So we're gonna put all of this in an if statement. We're gonna write if is scanning false and is player detected is also false. Then if is player detected is true and a second if variable is if chase time elapsed is smaller than chase time total, we'll do another one of this vector 3 move towards, but instead of towards target direction, we want our enemy object to move towards the player. So we'll do that by writing transform position vector 3 move towards. Now this is where we're gonna use our player variable. We'll write player transform position. Then it's the same as this one. We're gonna write movement speed and time delta time. Afterwards, once this variable exceeds this, so else if chase time elapsed is bigger than chase time total, will toggle or is player detected variable to false. Also, we need to continue calling or choose target direction methods. I think we're gonna do this. We're gonna do that here. So at the end of this coroutine, the while loop is run over 5 seconds, and if the player object is not detected, then we're gonna revert back to our first movement mode by calling our choose target direction method. Okay, let me check everything. I'm trying to see if there is a part that I didn't add, a part of the logic. Okay, I think that's it. So let's save our script and test it to see if it works. So right now our player or enemy object is why did you stop? Oh, right. So it's running a scan. It moves to another random direction, scanning, moves to another direction. Okay. Now let's try getting into the raycast. Oh, there it is. Right now the enemy object is chasing our player. And after 10 seconds, is it gonna switch back to wandering, but is it gonna switch back? Hold on, let me test that again. So you are scanning, you saw me. It needs to switch back to normal after 5 seconds. After 10 seconds, sorry. But I don't think I did it right. Yeah, no, there is something wrong. Also, I don't know why this error pops up. Let me check the script real quick to see what I'm doing wrong. Oh, I got it here. It doesn't work properly because I forgot to gradually increase my chase time elapsed variable with each frame. So in here we're gonna write an additional line, chase time elapsed time delta time. I think that's all we need. Now let's try again. Okay. For better testing, let me just, where is it? There. Let me just increase it so that our enemy always detects our player. That isn't enough. Damn. Okay, it's chasing now. Actually, hold on. Let me make another adjustment, another addition. First, we need to reset or chase time elapsed 0, and then after this if statement is correct, if it is true, then we're gonna immediately call our choose target direction method. Let's decrease our bullet count variable so that it's easier to test our game. I'm gonna increase this later. Okay, it's chasing now. Also, this pattern looks pretty cool. I like it. Why did you stop? That's not supposed to happen. Why? Let me check something real quick. I have reasoned that the problem is about our scanning variable. So it's scanning now. Oh, there it is. Now let me try toggling this. Okay. After the chase period is also over, we need to reset our scanning variable back to false. Is scanning false. I think this will finally solve the issue. Moving to a random direction, scanning. Okay. Now 10 seconds is up, moving to a random direction, scanning and detecting the player. Alright. Now that we got the movement system set up, I want to make an adjustment to our enemy object's shooting pattern. So I want to make it so when the enemy object is in its wandering mode, when it is choosing random positions, then it should have a different shooting pattern. But once it enters the chase mode, it will switch back to another shooting pattern. Let me show you what I want to work with. What did I do? This player detected. true. And then else, oh man, else if this player detected is false. Then moving here, if this player detected true, else if player detected So what I'm trying to do is create two shooting modes for our two movement modes. Let's see if this is gonna be correct. Then switch back. Alright, that looks fine enough. Now we're gonna set this back to its original value, which is, we can make it 5. Then also I want to make another adjustment to this. Changing the fire rate depending on what movement mode or enemy object is in. But that didn't work. Oh. Okay. So how about this? Alright. We have a smaller fire rate now. That doesn't really look nice. Okay, cool. Oh shit. Oh, Dessa needs to kill. Maybe I should reduce this a little bit. Yeah, okay, cool. Now for our level 8, we have an enemy object that has two different movement modes, and to fit that, it also has two different shooting modes. So that's it for our level 8. See you in the next video where we'll create level 9.